everybody to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Make sure you go to thegruelingtruth.com, click on the MyBookie banner at the top of the page to get up to a $1,000, 50% cash bonus on your first deposit. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I'd like to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley.
Hey, Mike, how you doing today?
All right, Steve. And our guest today will be on to talk a little NFL and other sports news. Help me welcome from the FF Face-Off, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
All right, we're going to start off with the Masters. Tiger won the Masters, Steve.
Yes, he did, and it's epic. The comeback that he's made at 43 years old, he's the second oldest player to ever win a major, other than Jack, who won it at 46 in 1986, I believe. And I'm thinking off the top of my head, so don't quote me on all these ages and dates specifically. You can go to Wikipedia and find it, I'm sure. But it was. I think, and Mike, I know you and I are going to have a debate about this. I think in the last 10 years, this may be the greatest sports story that's happened in the last 10 years. And there's been a lot of great ones. I mean, it's one of the greatest sports stories.
Well, is it the greatest or is it one of the greatest?
It's one of the greatest. It's in the
so
top,
it's not the greatest.
Top five. Well, I don't know. It depends on if you where you find golf in your life or where you.
Well, I can tell you this, Steve. I don't find
I think
hockey.
For a guy that's come back from the adversity that he's come back from,
self-imposed.
Some of it, yes, and some of it not self-imposed. But yeah, but still, sports is about redemption. It's about redemption and opportunity. And I think that yesterday what you saw was redemption. And you saw an opportunity, and you saw a will to win that was far greater than I've seen in sports, except for maybe Brady and the Patriots. And I know you and I talked about that offline. I see that, but other than that, I got to say Tom Brady and Tiger Woods, probably two of the greatest athletes in the last 10 years of sports.
Anthony, what do you think?
I'm not one of those people who watch golf regularly. I enjoy it. I play once in a while. But, even if you're not a golf fan, Tiger Woods back on top is good for sports. I think it's good for sports merchandising. I think it's good all the way around because Tiger was such a polarizing figure, and then he had that adversity off the course, and for him to finally win again, it's a great thing for sports. I can't, that's all I really think. It's just a really good thing for sports.
Well, let me ask you this question,
I'm a
Mike.
Tiger Woods fan. I've always been a Tiger Woods fan.
Yeah, I'm a Tiger Woods fan too, and I understand he's done some stupid things, but he's redeemed himself to the most part. But Mike, really seriously, do you not think that Tiger moved the needle yesterday?
What needle's that? I mean, he helps golf. He makes it more popular.
Yeah, he moved the needle of golf. Yeah, he elevated the game.
No, he didn't elevate the game. He elevates the game when he's playing. The problem is this. The game wasn't elevated the last decade when he wasn't playing well because the TV ratings weren't as good as what they had been. So the only way you can elevate the game is if you make an impact after you're done. Jack Nicklaus, I think, did that. Jack Nicklaus in 1986, to me, would be the greatest golf moment I ever saw. He was 46 years old?
46, yeah.
And I remember watching that.
Yeah,
and I watched it because Jack Nicholson, I mean, he's a hero. He's a hell of a guy. Didn't have all the bullshit that goes with him.
He's a movie actor.
Jack Nicklaus is what I said.
Okay. No, you said Nicholson. Go listen to the tape.
I don't know. I have a tape for this show, but all right.
Okay.
I'm just telling you. Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer. I mean, Arnold Palmer's got that badass tee.
No. Which we have a bunch in our refrigerator right now. Tiger yesterday elevated himself to a level almost equivalent to Nicklaus. The way he won, it was my wife and I were watching, and it came on at 6 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles. So I got up and watched the China Grand Prix at 3 in the morning, which I know you don't care about that either. But I wanted to see Lewis Hamilton win again for a 75th career win, I believe, which puts him number one in all time, or gets him near Michael Schumacher, one of the two. And then we turned it on at 6 o'clock, and we got to they played the 11th hole, and they got to the 12th hole, and he was playing with Finau, and who was the other guy I was playing with? Who the guy was in the lead? I can't remember the name of the third guy. I can look it up now. Tell me who was in the third guy in the group. Anyway, they get to the 12th hole, and
oh, there you go. Lucas just told you. Turn your phone off.
I didn't know what he meant. But it's a 12th hole. The 12th hole at Augusta is probably the most difficult hole to play in golf. And the two guys that are in front, dump it in the water, and Tiger just says, screw this. I'm playing safe. I'm playing smart. He's playing golf to win, and playing as smart a golf as we've seen him play. Molinari, yeah, that's right, Francisco Molinari. There you go. Thank you, Lucas.
Yeah. We got somebody who knows about golf listening at least. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, but I mean, and and I told Tia the 11th hole, I said, watch, these guys are going to dump it in the lake. They're going to dump it in Rays Creek right there on the start of the 12th hole. And Tiger just calmly puts it up there, and it just great at 43 years old to see him come back and play the way he played. And he is Michael Jordan. He is Jackie Robinson, who today is Jackie Robinson's first day of ever playing in the major leagues, which I'm sure you guys will talk about later on today. And he's one of those legends in the game that transcends sports. And yesterday, sports elevated itself, in my opinion. And I don't want to say it's a win for the ages, because I didn't coin that phrase. Somebody else did. But it's epic. It's an epic win for Tiger yesterday. And it did all of sports good yesterday. And I don't know what the 7 rating is on a Sunday. I don't know if that's good or bad, because I don't follow the ratings that closely. But I know I watched it, and, at 11:30, I was done with it. And there you go. But great win, 5th major. Only Jack Nicklaus has more. He elevated himself closer to Jack, who I still think is the greatest golfer of all time in the game. But you can't argue with what happened yesterday and the story of redemption that went on. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So he got redemption for everything he did by winning a golf tournament.
I think he got redemption by writing himself. I mean, you can't win a golf tournament without writing yourself and being.
As a golfer,
I don't know how much golf
I agree.
You play.
As a golfer, you're right.
I play 5 rounds a week. 4 or 5 rounds a week if I can, and I know how hard that game is to play. But you have to be focused and redeem yourself. You've got to play the course. You got to do the things you need to do. And you got to focus like probably no other sport there is, because it's you against the golf course. And I think it's a fascinating story, and good for him. And now, and here's the big thing, Mike. Your boy Bobby, one bettor won $1.19 million betting on him. The sports book took a huge hit yesterday.
Yeah, he's like a 21-1 dog.
Yeah, and everybody, they lost their ass yesterday. From what I'm reading, I got online this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning in California time and looked at it and said, yeah, the sports book lost their ass on this bet. So they took a hit. So thank God Bobby didn't have you bet on the Masters.
I wouldn't bet on the Masters. I only bet on things I can watch. I like sports.
Well, there you go.
I went
and
to
you
Trader
move out
Joe's
Lawrenceburg,
while
Indiana.
all this was going on. And I got some really quality items, too.
I love Trader Joe's.
But we're not going to talk anymore about Trader Joe's because they don't sponsor us. Anthony, do you like Trader Joe's?
I do, actually. I do.
I can tell you this. I still think the biggest sports...
I love Trader Joe's.
The biggest sports story of this century so far was the Cubs winning the World Series. And I don't even think that's close with anything else that's happened in sports.
Sure, for the century, I get that. Yeah.
And for the last 10 years and for the last 5 years, I mean... We can't go more than the last 3 years, but
still, it's I woke up this morning and watched the Today Show, and the second story they talked about was Tiger winning, and that's national news. It's a big deal, and it's a great win for him. He won the tournament. He didn't have it handed to him, which I thought was great. Was the fact that and I watched all 18 holes of him playing. He won the golf tournament. He outplayed everybody at 43, coming off 4 back surgeries, a personal wrecking of his own life, which is his problem. And I know you speak to that, Mike. I get that. But he rectified himself. He got it back. He got focused. And unless you play golf regularly, you have to understand, golf is one of the few games you ever play in your life where the ball is stationary when you address it. Think about that. It's really baseball. No, ball's coming at you at 90 miles an hour. Basketball. No, the ball's being passed at you. Golf is one of the few. So it's all about you addressing the golf ball.
Now, you said
what
that
you can do with it.
I thought Tiger had won 15 majors.
This was his 15th, I believe.
Because you said it was his 5th major earlier, so.
No, it's his 5th green jacket. It's his 5th Masters.
Oh, you said 15th major, though, and since you gave me crap about saying a name wrong, I just figured I'd throw that in there.
Okay, no problem. But no, it's his 5th green jacket, of which he only owns 1 green jacket, which he can now take off the property for 1 year, and then he has to put it back in his locker. But it's his 15th major. Jack has 18 professional majors. And now it's a toss-up between who's the greatest golfer of all time. Before, I always thought it was Jack. I still think Jack Nicklaus is the greatest golfer. But Tiger now has put himself on a parallel with him. It's like it's hard to argue now. Now you got to argue.
No, you don't. It's
and
still
there you
Jack.
go. Yeah, I would agree with you right now. Yes, it is.
Well, I don't think there's anything
18.
Tiger can do to change that, because I still think, in the end, if they were to play, and it's an even field and Nicklaus is born years later, I think Nicklaus wins because Nicklaus is mentally tougher.
Yeah, that's a debate.
It's
I can't
not
argue
a debate
with you on that.
because when you look at it, and Tiger mentally, Tiger is just the best golfer. And mentally, sure, he's all right, but there was a decade where he wasn't. And I know he had some injury issues, but mentally he wasn't all right because of what he self-imposed on himself. And I think when you look at Jack Nicklaus, I don't think there's anything there that calls into account the man's character. So I'll take Jack Nicklaus because when it gets down to it, that's what the good thing, though, is at least you don't say everybody else, flubbed it on purpose so Tiger could win and it was fixed, like he did with the Lakers.
Yeah, there you go, the Lakers. Screw the Lakers. Yeah. Luke Walton's got a new job already, though. He's new coach of the Sacramento Kings.
Good for
Luke
Walton.
It didn't take him long.
Good sucks
Luke
to
Walton.
beat the
Yeah,
Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
Also, by the
He got
way,
out of the frying pan. Yeah.
Lucas sent a message. Lucas, the Toronto Maple Leafs are not going to win the Stanley Cup, so there's no chance for that to be a big story. All right.
Now, why is that? Okay, Mike, let me ask you just one question. Why is Lucas texting us when I asked him to be on this show today, and he texted me and said he couldn't do it? So let him text you back and tell us why he couldn't come on with us today with Anthony and talk NFL draft and football and Tiger Woods. So ask him that question.
Well, I think it was
he's texting
Lucas,
us left and right.
Lucas doesn't like talking about the Dallas Cowboys so much. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's move on.
Golf. Great win. It was a great day for golf. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right, so next up, we've got,
Let's go
I
football.
think the biggest story in sports outside of Tiger Woods is Russell Wilson, Anthony. You want to give everybody a little breakdown on what's going on with Russell Wilson and the deadline that is tonight, and it's not just for his tax returns?
Yeah. Right now, everything out of Seattle seems to be suggesting that Russell Wilson could be on the move. Russell Wilson has set this deadline for today for a new deal. When you see other quarterbacks like Joe Flacco, Matt Stafford, and such on top of, their average salaries ahead of Russell Wilson, you can't blame him for doing this. And Russell Wilson isn't the most outspoken player, but I get why he wants to, get a new deal. I get why he's setting the deadline. The difference between Russell Wilson and other players is that despite the fact that it looks like there is no new deal imminent, he is reporting to the start of voluntary workouts that I believe start today.
So my question is this then. If they do not sign him by April the 15th tonight and he plays, don't they almost have to trade him? I know they tag him next year, but then you're going to have an unhappy Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, I guess, has a source close to the situation saying that Russ does want to play elsewhere.
Now, do you think that says a lot about Pete Carroll?
How much is it Pete Carroll? How much is it their general manager, John Schneider, and the way they do things in Seattle?
Yeah, and the way they don't get him an upgraded offensive line or wide receivers, for that matter. And I think when you look at this, the team that keeps popping up that I see is the New York Giants possibly being in play for him.
I'm reading that too. I was going to ask that question, Mike. Good question, because I was going to say the Giants seem to be in play here. And what does that say about Eli Manning?
I don't think that says anything about Eli Manning, because right now, if you told me to name the best quarterback under the age of 30, I think Russell Wilson's that guy, Anthony.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's that close. If you take in consideration everything Russell Wilson has done for the league, for the city of Seattle, and then for the Seahawks. I mean, he's a polarizing figure. We're talking about Tiger Woods. Russell Wilson is the city of Seattle sports right now.
Yeah, because, of course, the Supersonics are gone, and what else you got? Well, the Mariners are starting off well, but it's still the Mariners. I think that area is more of an NFL franchise more than anything else. Is there any team other than the Giants you can see jumping in here? Because if I'm a team, no matter who my quarterback is right now,
you're on the market for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I would take Russell. If I was New England, I would give up the house to get him. Because if you get Russell Wilson, you've got a decade of going to the playoffs and probably winning a Super Bowl or two if you do things right around him.
I think if I'm the Giants, I think the Giants have already offered Seattle their 2 firsts. I mean, if you're the Giants, would you give up more? Would you say, here, 2 firsts and a first next year, or is that too much? Because when you see Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he 2 years ago, when he was still with New England, around the draft, there were teams willing to give up 2 firsts for him, I believe. And New England kept him, and he ended up going around the trade deadline for a couple of seconds. So if Jimmy Garoppolo can garner a couple of first-round picks, Russell Wilson should get 5.
Yeah. Actually, Russell Wilson should get your whole damn draft, probably. And it may be worth it. And, I think it's worth it because of this. I mean, we already know he's a franchise quarterback. He changes your franchise. I mean, if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, with almost any other quarterback in the NFL, that team does not make the playoffs last year.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, when you what's the word I'm looking for? The key to it all, I guess, if you look at some of his stat lines, he had a game where I think they won and he didn't throw for 100 yards. That's the type of player you have in Russell Wilson.
Yeah, because he's a guy.
He'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah, he can extend plays in the pocket. He can run if he has to, and he's a great leader. I can tell you this. I like Andy Dalton a lot, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But if the Bengals could have Russell Wilson, they could give up their entire draft. I'll take Russell Wilson. And I really like Andrew Luck. If I'm the Colts, I'd give everything up to get Russell Wilson. Because Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls, won one, should have won them both. I don't know. What's your take on Wilson, Steve, and what could possibly be done here? And I don't know how Seattle can't just give him what the hell he wants.
It's a great question. I'm trying to think where he would be a good fit. I don't think that the Giants want to.
Everywhere.
He's a great fit everywhere. Yeah, no, I get that, but where is he a good fit that you don't have to sacrifice your life or your future to get him? I'd like to see Russell Wilson go with Gruden in the Raiders. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I just thought about that. I think that would be a great fit for him. They're going to Las Vegas, Showtown. Anthony, is that a good fit? Him go to the Raiders?
Then what do you do with you have Derek Carr? The Raiders are already paying. They were so active in free agency, they paid a lot of money out.
Yeah, they may not have any money left to pay.
Listen, they also have a lot of holes on defense, and I don't think you can trade your draft assets for Russell Wilson because you need to build that defense up. Because there is no point of bringing any of these offensive pieces in, Russell Wilson included, if you don't have a defense.
Yeah, if I was the Raiders,
that's one thing Seattle has always given. They've always given Russell Wilson a defense.
Yeah, but they haven't put anything around him. But I think the Giants is the perfect place. I'll tell you another place that I think would be interesting for him, and he would make them a possible Super Bowl team immediately, would be Tennessee.
I don't hate that.
I mean, because he plays similar to Marcus Mariota, but he's just a lot better quarterback.
If you're Russell Wilson, do you want to go to another small market?
Because if I'm Russell Wilson, I want to go to New York.
Right. I mean, how much is where he's playing come into effect?
I think it
How much does
Ciara,
his wife, play a role into this?
Yeah, I think it all
Ciara,
does.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Ciara plays a lot into this, yeah. She's an entertainer. She wants to be in a big city market. So she's playing into this to some degree. I don't know how much. But, yeah, I agree with that. Great statement.
And I think with that being said, New York seems like the obvious choice. But then,
so what do you do with Eli Manning?
That's what I was going to ask Eli. Then what do you do with Eli Manning? Because it's not like Russell's got to sit behind him and watch for a year.
Yeah.
But if you trade a bunch of people away, you still might be able to get a decent draft choice at least for Eli Manning and still have a draft pick this year.
So Anthony, do you dump Eli Manning for a draft pick and bring Russell Wilson in?
Are they going to get a draft pick for Eli Manning?
You might get a 4th or a 5th rounder. I mean, hell. Look at the guys that are backups in the NFL right now. I'll tell you what. Put it like this.
But Eli is going to want to go and start.
I know.
Those teams that could have, it would have made sense to trade Eli Manning to Jacksonville. They have their quarterback. It would have made sense to trade Eli to Denver. They have their quarterback right now. Washington, but are they going to trade him in division, or is he just done and it won't matter? Washington's probably that only landing spot.
And, I mean, that's about the only place you could do it. And the thing is this. I would trade Eli to Washington if I'm them because I still think Eli has something left, but he's nowhere near Russell Wilson. So the problem is, what kind of hit do you take on the salary cap there?
If you're who?
Yeah.
If you're the Giants, I mean.
Yeah, Giants.
Because if you have to keep him, because if you cut him, you're still taking a hit on the salary cap, correct?
Right.
Anthony?
Yeah. I have to look that up, but there's going to be some kind of a hit.
Yeah, but if you're the Giants, you just take that hit and go with it. All right. You want to move on, and we'll talk a little Leonard Fournette, who said the NFL would be easy, but says he's hurt all the time. I don't think it's been as easy as he thought it would be. And now, he gets in trouble again last week. What are they going to do with Leonard Fournette, Anthony?
Leonard Fournette, and I know he was arrested for whatever it was, parking or traffic violation, so that's not the big deal. The big deal is the fact that Leonard Fournette has had issues, whether it was injuries, whether it was in-team suspensions, whether it was butting heads with Tom Coughlin. He was already on the hot seat, and Tom Coughlin said, hey, we met. We are going to, put all the past aside and move forward. And then a couple weeks later, he gets arrested for this. How much is that going to play an effect into anything? Because to me, that shows the Jaguars that Leonard Fournette doesn't have his priorities straight and doesn't really give a damn.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm old school. I think these guys have too much time on their hands, too much money in their pockets, and too many people making decisions for them, and they don't have much accountability. And I don't know that Leonard Fournette's a bad guy,
I didn't say
for
he was
a traffic
bad guy.
stop.
I didn't say he was a bad guy.
No. And I wasn't challenging you. I'm just saying the NFL needs to come up with some other way to involve themselves in the community to get these players doing stuff 8 hours a day, all year long, is my opinion. They need to figure out something that they keep these kids active, keep them involved in the community, keep them working with youth, do what they can do. And I think a lot of these problems go away. But when you give some kid that kind of money, with people managing them and doing everything for them, and they have no accountability or responsibility other than to be at practice, play hard, which they do play hard. It's not a question of what they do on the field. I think the NFL needs to kind of look at that and say, in our contractual obligations, we need to have you being active more and doing more for the NFL or for your community, is my opinion. So, Leonard Fournette, whatever. I mean, it's another dumb idiot, doing stupid stuff. And the problem is to make a mountain out of a molehill because he's Leonard Fournette. So that's my thoughts.
All right. So we go to Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill is planning on attending the team's off-season training program, despite police investigating an alleged battery at his home last month. The battery is on, his 3-year-old son. It's alleged child abuse, him and the woman he's with, that resulted in a 3-year-old son getting a broken arm, Anthony. Should he be, put it like this, not should he be allowed to attend this, because he probably should be, because he hasn't been found guilty yet. But I believe that would be the same son that his girlfriend had in her stomach when he beat the hell out of her, 3-4 years ago? If you're the Chiefs, why do you keep this guy around?
It goes back to what they did and how they handled Kareem Hunt. And it's almost like this is a double standard. And I know Kareem Hunt, there was physical evidence of the altercation, and with Tyreek Hill, I don't know if we have that. But if the Chiefs are doing, just outright releasing a Pro Bowl caliber talent, don't you have to do that again to show consistency? But if you're asking me if Tyreek Hill should be allowed to play, I think so right now, because there is no determination. We don't know.
There was a determination on him with the domestic assault and battery by strangulation against that girl with the child in her stomach. And that was expunged because he did 3 years of probation.
This is always going to come down to a moral thing. in sports. And where is that line?
So, Steve, is there a line or is there just no line anymore?
Oh, I don't think the NFL draws a line. I think that it's all about winning and talent, and you'll pay the player, to play for you. And unless it gets, I agree with you, Mike, when you said, you're innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. First off, now, and I'm not defending Tyreek Hill in any way, shape, or form. Most likely, it probably happened, but it's speculative right now.
But what we do know, Steve, is this: he was arrested in December 2014.
Right, exactly.
For punching her repeatedly, both in the face and stomach, choked her, and according to a police report, then threw her around like a rag doll.
Hmm. Yeah, and in the end, people will still buy season tickets. They will still show up at Arrowhead Stadium, and they will watch the games, and they'll cheer him on. And, it's just the way that league is formed. They are not a league of integrity in terms of, what's the word I'm trying to find? Personality, maybe, would be the best word I could use. They let crap go on that goes on, but they've done it consistently, so give them credit for at least being consistent. They don't force issues until the issues get forced on them. And we've seen that happen before with other players. But, it's a tough call. I personally am not a fan of Tyreek Hill. I don't like the accusations because they're probably where smoke, there's fire, most likely.
Well, he also did three years of probation for the first one, so we know something
right,
happened
exactly. There. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. So but here's my question, Mike: is this an Andy Reid problem?
No, I think it's a people problem. I think that basically Andy Reid wants to win, and people are fine with somebody that does stuff like this as long as they win. I mean, would you want? Yeah. Would you be all right?
Like Tiger Woods.
If Tyreek Hill was on your team, would you want him on your team if it meant winning the Super Bowl, even if you knew that he broke his 3-year-old child's arm?
And I can't answer that question. I mean, no, I would not. But I could see where somebody would say yes, they would. I would say no, I would not, because I have a different conscience than maybe Jim Irsay does with the Colts. But I understand where Jim Irsay comes from and sees, because I'm not making that kind of money. Those guys are talking about billions of dollars for winning these things and doing it, and it's like, okay, I'll take a dirtbag and I'll win a championship and deal with the publicity, and I've got a whole public relations team that's going to downplay it. So, no, for me personally, right now, in my position, nah, I wouldn't touch the guy. But, if I'm Jim Irsay and I own the Colts, I'm like, damn, I got Andrew Luck. I got Tyreek Hill. I got a great receiver. I got people out there playing. It's like, I can win a Super Bowl, another one, and I'm going to make a boatload of money. I don't know, Mike, where do you go?
Well, where I go is this. Where I go is, it matters to me. I really, my whole life has been sports. I mean, that's how I've made the money that I have made in my life. That's how I've met the people I've met. I tend to err on the side of, if you're beating the hell out of your kid or you're cheating on your wife, I don't think you should be able to do this anymore. And I think the sad thing is this. And you said that you wouldn't want Tyreek Hill on your team because of what he's done. But you glorify Tiger Woods and say it's like the most epic sports moment ever. When all Tiger Woods thing, I know he had some surgeries, but all Tiger Woods shit comes down to this. I mean, he fell apart because he was a miserable human being. I hope everybody gets a second chance at life and to do things that are good. But I don't know that Tiger Woods has changed. All I know is, maybe he has, less conscious now than ever before. and he just went ahead and
won.
won.
What did Tiger do? What did Tiger do again?
Tiger cheated on his wife repeatedly.
He cheated on his wife. You know how many people cheat on their wife, Mike?
Well, wait a second, Steve, because there was a point where there was a joke made on this show one time, and it was about somebody that cheated, and you said you didn't even want to address that because you've never cheated on your wife, and you wouldn't address it because of that. Yeah, and neither have I.
But there is a difference between, cheating on a significant other and breaking your kid's arm.
Actually, to me, there's not. There's not.
Okay,
you know what? You have to be the most miserable human being in the world to cheat on your spouse and then go, chill out with her like nothing ever happened. You have to be a miserable human being to break your kid's arm. You just have to be. And this is the thing.
Agreed.
With Tiger Woods, no, what he did, I don't think is quite as bad. But a sin is a sin. And these, to me, are deadly sins that reveal what kind of person you are. And all I'm saying is this. Athletes are not supposed to be role models. But they are in a lot of cases anymore because a lot of kids don't have a father figure to look up to. And you've got a lot of other guys that are father figures for their kids that will glorify this man who, in the end, do I want my son to end up to be like Tyreek Hill or Tiger Woods? Hell no. I don't.
No.
So I'm never going to sit here and glorify somebody who can't keep their own house in effect. This is the thing. And it all comes down to this. Tiger Woods, Tyreek Hill, same damn thing. Mike Tyson, same damn thing. What they did in their life was this. Tiger Woods' parents were parading him on talk shows at the age of 3. He has never been forced to grow up because he never has, because he could hit a golf ball. Tyreek Hill could catch a football, and he could run really fast. Nobody has ever put these guys in check. And my problem is, with the NFL, they never put these guys in check. They only put them in check if people get pissed off enough to demand it. This dude possibly broke the kid's arm. Either way, he beat up his pregnant girlfriend, and the Kansas City Chiefs still drafted him. I mean, I'm tired of this.
Agreed.
I'm just tired of it. And I'm tired of glorifying, Pete Rose, who's a scumbag. Everybody knows that. How about this? Let's just say, hey, he was a hell of a baseball player, but he's a miserable human being. Why do we glorify him? With Tiger Woods, one of the 2 greatest golfers of all time. But you know what? I'm always going to err on the side of the golfer that I know nothing bad about. And a man who gave back a lot.
Here's my question to you. Mike. And Anthony, I got to get back to football because I got a bunch of football questions to ask you. Is Pete Rose glorified? Because he's not in the Hall of Fame.
He's glorified by probably 75% of Cincinnati.
How is Pete Rose glorified? Really?
He's glorified because, how about this, Steve?
Most people have the same opinion you have of him.
Wait a second. We ran a poll. And that poll was, should he be in the Hall of Fame? And when we ran that poll, there was like 10,000 people voted on it. 70% of people thought he should. That's glorified him. He doesn't need to be in the Hall of Fame. What he did was the same thing Joe Jackson was accused of, and Joe Jackson's not in the Hall of Fame, and he's been dead for 40 years. I'm just tired of it. I mean, Pete Rose was a scumbag. He got a bunch of base hits. Big deal. In the end, that's all he is. He was a baseball player. And if you're just a baseball player...
Put up a poll on our site and say, is Pete Rose a scumbag? Put that poll on our site.
And I guarantee you, 70% of people will say he's not.
Yeah, you'll lose. Yeah.
But
I agree with you entirely.
And I'm just telling you this. With Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, Anthony, it just seems like this happens an awful lot.
It does. And I'm not Anthony. I'm sorry. Anthony, speak.
Do you think it's a testament to Andy Reid?
Yeah, I think it's a testament to this. I think it's a testament to the fact that Andy Reid is a great football coach that cannot win the big game. And I think that as Andy Reid gets older, Andy Reid's willing to sell his soul to win that Super Bowl ring. So when he's in retirement, people aren't questioning really how good he was because he didn't win a Super Bowl.
But how do you morally, Okay, morally, I get it. Yeah, you don't want these people in the game. But when you're thinking about it as an owner or as a coach or a general manager, it's a business.
Yeah, I
And
know.
you have, and unless, and I could see if the whole NFL was on the same page and all 32 teams were on the same page. But the fact that you can release this player, and look at Kareem Hunt. As soon as he cleared waivers, I don't even know if he cleared waivers. He could have been claimed. He was scooped up. Somebody else is going to get this player to help. So you're put in this moral dilemma. Do I want, is it moral or business?
I think this. I think to win, morality plays a part. I mean, have we seen one of these guys win a Super Bowl?
The Cowboys in the 90s. They were drug addicts, crackheads.
And it was worth it. And Jerry Jones was the owner of that team, and it was worth it to him to win that way. I'm just telling you this.
But they won.
Yeah, so it doesn't change the fact that the way they won takes away from it. That's my opinion. That's not the way everybody should think about it. All I can tell you is this.
There's no asterisk for morals. There's no asterisk for morals.
But you know what? You do have to live with yourself when you win that way. And I just don't see why it's worth that. I mean, you could be a winner on the field and a loser off the field. And I could tell you this. A perfect example is, my favorite Reds team of all time wasn't 75 or 76. It wasn't even a team that won at all. It was a team in 1999 that won 98, 99 games and lost in a one-game playoff because I liked that team. The 1988 Bengals, you had guys like Stanley Wilson. He was a drug addict, but you didn't have anybody on there to beat the hell out of their wives that we know of. But the thing is this, we never really know that. But when you have somebody that you know about and everybody else knows about, I can tell you this, Anthony, in my position when I coached, the first thing I did was find out what those people had done in their lives that were wrong. Because I still think this, the Dallas Cowboys still select to play guys that are not of great character. And they haven't won in a long time. And I would also make the case for this. I think you get 70s, 80s, and 90s. Most teams were the way you described the Dallas Cowboys.
You said most teams were like
that?
Yeah. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I've heard some stories off air with some of these legends.
Let me just ask you a moral question here real quickly. And I agree with you. And I'm in your camp. I think athletes are role models.
I don't think they're role models.
I think they are the way they're celebrated by Nike and Adidas and Under Armour. They're role models because they use them to celebrate and to sell other stuff. They make them role models. But the question is, are you under the assumption that only athletes are these idiots, that this crap doesn't go on 99% of the time in people that aren't in a position to be celebrated or famous? That, and it's wrong. And I'm in your camp. I don't think Tyreek Hill should be in the NFL. But because he's a celebrity and because he's in the NFL, he gets recognized for it when this crap goes on every day. Trust me, I live in L.A. I watch 7 car chases a day on the 405. Idiots just being idiots. Is it any different from normal life, or do we need to hold these guys accountable to a different standard just simply because they're in the NFL?
No, I think everybody should be held to the same standard. The only
Exactly.
problem is they're not. But they should be.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Leonard Fournette was, when he got in trouble, in 24 minutes he was out of there. If that's a normal person, it's 12 to 24 hours. I mean, they're treated differently.
Well, but he's got the money to bail himself out. He's got the cash in his pocket to bail himself out.
It had nothing to do with bail because you have to be processed normally. Because even the defense attorney down there said that a normal person would be 12 to 24 hours. He was out in 24 minutes. And of course, the jailer now has lifelong season tickets to the Jaguars.
Tickets to the Jaguars game. Yeah. With their new quarterback. There you go.
But Anthony, what else do we have football-wise to talk about and get off this crap?
No, I have a question for I have some questions for Anthony.
Okay.
Anthony, describe this new phrase that's kind of come up. It's like polar vortex. It's kind of like, whatever. What is an edge rusher? And this is a new phrase I've heard now.
That's not a new
and I know
phrase.
What the defensive line is. Yeah, it is to me. Describe what an edge, because now, and then my second question to follow up on that is, what's the hottest position to draft this year? Is it edge rusher or is it wide receiver? So what do you think on that?
So the first part, to my
edge
understanding,
rusher. What's an edge
rusher is a player that could, work the edge to get to the quarterback. And that could be a defensive end or an outside linebacker. Right, Mike? I mean, you're the coach. Am I off there? So it's just a fancier name?
Well, I think this.
So is it a
specialist?
It's the position is still a defensive end. And when people talk about edge rushers, they're talking about a type of player that can work the edge to get to the quarterback. Edge rushers can include linebackers and DNs, but it's somebody who can run the hoop, get their shoulder down, and get around and get to the quarterback. So I mean, edge rusher to me is still a defensive end, though.
Yeah, here's my question, Mike. What size and fit is the perfect edge rusher? Do you want speed? You want size? You want height? What do you want in an edge rusher now?
The two most important things are this, though. An edge rusher are your feet and your hands. That is the most important thing. I mean, if you've got great feet and great hands, you're going to be able to beat most tackles today that can't kick step. I think the perfect example of an edge rusher, by the way you've defined it, is a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, who was a 4-3 DN in college, who converted to a 3-4 outside linebacker, but still uses the same skill set to rush the passer, if that makes any sense. Terrell Suggs.
And how important is that in the mix now?
It always is, because right now,
do you want a quarterback then an edge rusher, or does edge rusher move into the number 2 position? I mean, you got to have a quarterback. We all know you got to have a quarterback. That's why we have Andrew Luck. That's why we have the best quarterback in the league.
Well, I mean, you got to remember this.
Go ahead,
too.
Mike.
Usually a Mike, Will, or Sam in a 4-3, 3-4 outside linebackers are more like the defensive ends, honestly. And the lines actually, or the ends actually anymore, will actually shade towards the tackles. They'll be more inside. And I think that you see 4-3 linebackers, outside linebackers, I think are a dying breed due to the pass-happy league that we have now. And edge rusher is this. You've either got to get pressure or you're going to lose nowadays. You have to be able to get to the quarterback. When we look at quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, you have to be able to get that edge. Against Tom Brady, you want to make him, try to get out of the pocket. But there's different ways to do that. But I think the edge rusher is the most important thing. We saw in Super Bowl 42 where an undefeated Patriots team who was far superior to that Giants team, but they had a pass rush. And to me, an edge rusher is still a defensive end. They just like to use fancy names for it now. And it's usually a guy that doesn't defend a run very well, Anthony.
So, Anthony, here's my question for you. Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, who's the best edge rusher available in the draft right now?
I'm still going to stick with Bosa, I think. And I think it's going to be so close between the two. I mean, is there much of a difference between them? They're projected to go back-to-back in the draft at 2 and 3. I think you're splitting hairs, no?
I don't. I think Josh Allen is by far the best edge rusher in this draft.
Why? What's the difference between the two?
I think he's got better feet. I think he gets better leverage. I mean, I just think that put it like this. When I look at Josh Allen, I think you see a guy that 95% is going to be a superstar in this league. I think with Bosa, you see a guy that's 85%. And the reason I say that is this. A defensive end like Bosa is more used to having his hand in the ground, where Allen has played on his feet and been able to rush the passer. And I think we see more defensive ends fail at that than we do outside linebackers, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does.
Yeah, because I think when you look at a guy, a perfect example, Anthony, is, what's his name? Solomon Thomas, the guy that the 49ers picked so high a few years ago. And he's a guy that, in a three-point stance, is a slightly above average NFL player. And that's because a lot of times it doesn't convert, because when you're playing defensive end in college football and you're lined up on that edge, you're usually going against a guy that is significantly slower than you, a guy that's not going to play in the NFL, if that makes any sense. So it's harder to tell with a defensive end how good they are. With an outside linebacker, he's playing off the edge. He's doing a lot of other things. He's doing them on his feet, standing up. I think the position we see fail more often than not is basically defensive line. I mean, guys that are picked in the top 10 there, I think, don't pan out more than a top 10 outside linebacker who's an edge rusher.
All right, my next question, wide receivers. Has wide receiver become an absolute important position to draft now? It seems like most teams are chock full of relatively decent quarterbacks, high-paid quarterbacks, but they have nobody to throw the ball to. And you look at Odell Beckham and the trades that have happened, and a lot of the trades have occurred over wide receivers. Has this just become an important position, and much more important than it was, say, 2 years ago?
I think it's just the state of the NFL we're in. It's a passing league. This also was a very deep year for pass catchers like tight ends and wide receivers, so they're getting a ton of hype, where you see these running backs like Josh Jacobs can potentially fall into the second round. I think it's just it's different year by year.
Okay. All right.
I think
quarterbacks.
I think
Go
wide
ahead, Mike.
receiver. I think wide receiver, you could pick them in the second and third round all day. No reason to ever pick any wide receiver in the first round, I don't think.
First round, I would agree. Give me Bullet Bob Hayes, and I'm happy. He could run a 4.140.
Not nowadays. He wouldn't do nothing nowadays.
No.
Not the way defenses are
prime,
played. They're going to make him run a route at some point, and he's going to be screwed.
Yeah, he just streaked. He just streaked down the field, and Roger Staubach threw it up, and he caught it most of the time, some of the times. There you go. Quarterbacks. Is Kyler Murray, who are the quarterbacks in this draft?
I mean, Kyler Murray is the headliner.
Yeah, but
and behind
is
him, I think there's a lot of question mark. Is he worthy? I'm undecided on how I feel about Kyler Murray, because I know before the Cardinals said that they were going to take him, Kyler Murray, I think it was Charlie Casserly on the NFL Network, said he was a second-round pick. And then all of a sudden he is catapulted to the number 1 overall pick because of Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals. So it all depends on how you view him. I mean, if people want to compare him to Pat Mahomes and you see what Pat Mahomes did, then yes, he is worthy. But if you take in consideration his size, I mean, it can go either way.
All right, so Mike, you got Drew Lock, and then
Pat Mahomes doesn't grow on trees.
What was that?
No.
Patrick
Mike,
Mahomes was created by a really good private quarterbacks coach by the name of Jeff Christensen. Patrick Mahomes was not ready to play until this year. I think Kyler Murray is actually by far more NFL ready than Patrick Mahomes in his first year. But I think he needs to go. And see, this is what people miss. Patrick Mahomes went to the perfect situation in the way the Kansas City Chiefs run their offense. I mean, if you would have put him in Denver, I don't think you'd see the same Patrick Mahomes right now. I think Kyler Murray, the reason that people say he's the number 1 quarterback now is if he goes to Arizona, he fits Arizona's offense perfectly. I mean, that's what you want. You want the quarterback to fit the offense. And when you look at Murray, he's used to Kingsbury's offense, which was the same thing Lincoln Riley used at Oklahoma, which was basically the old, Hal Mummy air raid system. And it was the air raid that's a little bit different than Hal Mummy's air raid because this uses a fullback and it uses a tight end. And the difference there is the reads are a little bit different. And with Kyler Murray, he's plenty tall enough to run this offense. And let's face it, we just talked about Russell Wilson being the quarterback that we would most want under the age of 30, and he's nowhere near 6 feet tall. So, I mean, when we look at that, I don't think height matters.
I'm 6'8", so I do think height matters.
Well, see, this is the thing, though, Steve, and 6'8" quarterbacks don't work. They just don't.
I think Andrew
Brock
Luck
Osweiler.
He might be the best one. So
one, yeah.
I mean, the perfect example of that was San Diego State's Dan McGuire back in the late '90s. He was 6'8". Everybody freaked out about him being 6'8". But I mean, is there a quarterback that's considered elite that's over 6'5"?
Is there a quarterback over 6'5"?
How tall is Peyton?
I think Peyton was 6'4", wasn't he, or 6'5"?
Because he was tall.
He was
6'5".
for
a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think he was over 6'5".
Andrew Luck is 6'5", I believe. He's 6'4", 6'5". Andrew Luck is right now.
I mean, basically, the quarterbacks that are highly successful are between 5'10" and 6'4".
Yeah, well, the game's changed. There's no doubt. Mike, the Bengals. I've looked at a lot of the stuff in terms of mock drafts, and they're talking about Dwayne Haskins. Are they done with Andy Dalton? Are the Bengals really, truly? Because Andy Dalton is a great quarterback. Are they done with him?
He's not a great quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's in the top half of the NFL, and he may be better than that.
Okay.
I think you put talent around him, he can win you a Super Bowl. He proved that in 2015, but he got hurt when they were sitting at the 2 seed and 10-2, and then A.J. McCarron screwed it up after he got hurt. But the Cincinnati Bengals are in a position right now where last year half the seats were empty all the time. So if they get a chance to take Dwayne Haskins, Mike Brown has already proved he's a complete freaking moron. So, yeah, he'll pick Dwayne Haskins, and then what he'll do is Andy Dalton will start the first half of the season. Now, as the attendance dwindles, if they get to where they're 3-5 and all of a sudden there's only 40,000 people showing up again, well, then, boom, like magic, Dwayne Haskins comes in and the place is full again. Until midway point of the next year when everybody realizes Dwayne Haskins isn't really an NFL quarterback.
All right, so then, Anthony, how valuable does Andy Dalton become? Because, I mean, I think he's an established quarterback in the NFL who just has been on a crap team. I mean, and I'm sorry, Mike, the Colts are no better.
They have not been a crap team. They've turned into a crap team because of poor management.
Okay, exactly.
And poor management's what will chase a quarterback that took him to the playoffs 5 straight years back into being a crap team.
So then, Anthony, how valuable does Andy Dalton become? I mean, he's the next $30 million quarterback?
No, I don't think. And I like Andy Dalton. I don't know if he's going to crack $30 million a year, but I think Andy Dalton does have value. I believe he's taken to the Bengals to the playoffs in 4 of his 8 seasons. Is that correct, Mike?
5 straight seasons.
5. I thought he was 4-4.
No, he was. It was 5-5. The 5th season was when they were sitting at like 11-2. And were like the 1 seed, and he got hurt. But, I mean, he's the reason they got to the playoffs.
I think Andy Dalton, and, this is what I wanted to bring up today, is Andrew Whitworth, the longtime Bengals left tackle, said that Andy Dalton should flourish in Zach Taylor's offense. And Whitworth should know because Whitworth played with Zach Taylor or under Zach Taylor in Los Angeles. So if he believes in Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton has proven he could put up some big numbers and also take this team to the playoffs with Marvin Lewis. I think Andy Dalton deserves every opportunity this year.
Yeah, but they're not going to give it to him. And the thing that's a bitch here is when you look at his stats the last 3 years. Last year, 21 touchdowns, 11 picks. They were 5-5 when he got hurt. They won one game the rest of the year. The year before, 25 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The year before that, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. The year before that was the year he got hurt, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So, I mean, if you're a Bengals fan and you want Andy Dalton gone, you're a dumbass.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah,
entirely.
and it's what's going to happen because
you don't lose
Mike
Andy
Brown's
Dalton.
an idiot.
Kid's a good,
Well, it's going to be the same thing that happened with Carson Palmer. They chased Carson Palmer out of here. 3 years later, Carson Palmer's in a championship game, and hey, he's won a playoff game. Imagine how that happens. You get him the hell out of Cincinnati, everything will work out fine for him. You know what? If I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would give up everything to have Andy Dalton right now.
Wow, that's a good call.
Dude, I'm telling you, Andy Dalton in Pittsburgh
it's not a bad
will
call.
destroy the AFC North.
But why move on from Big Ben?
He's like 40
Big
years
Ben.
old and has shown
Big Ben
definite signs of getting old.
I'm not a Big Ben fan whatsoever.
I am. I think he's a great
think
quarterback, but he's getting
he's
old.
going to play this season. And last year, I think he threw 5,000 yards. Big Ben, he quit his weekly radio spot, which shows me, I think he realizes that the pressure is on him. I think people realize that now that Bell is gone, Todd Haley's gone, everybody's gone. There's nobody else left to blame except Big Ben, Mike Tomlin, and Kevin Colbert, their general manager. So I think we are going to see a more focused and possibly a more matured Big Ben.
I don't think you'll ever see a matured Big Ben.
He did the right thing by quitting that radio spot because now he can't bury his teammates publicly.
I think this. He's still a good quarterback, but the fact is this. Andy Dalton's probably got 8 years left, and Big Ben's got 2 or 3. That's why I would say that. It's not because I don't think that I'll ever think Andy Dalton's as good as Big Ben Roethlisberger. But when you got a 29 or 30-year-old Dalton compared to a 38 or 39-year-old Roethlisberger, I think that's a pretty big difference. And the thing is this, and we've seen this, if they do not make a move earlier than what they should with Big Ben, they may have some major issues for 5 years after that. Because the thing that has always kept New England ahead of everybody else is the fact that they took guys like Ty Law. And, I mean, you could probably name 20 other guys. And they get rid of them a year before anybody thinks they should. And then they just get stronger. And if you wait with quarterback, and all of a sudden 2 years from now, you got to draft a quarterback. And you're drafted 11, and there's only one guy worth of crap there, and you can't get to him, then you've got issues.
Yeah, I don't see them making a move like that.
I don't either.
Especially in division.
Because I guarantee you this, if they do that, the Bengals would make that move in division. Mike Brown doesn't even know the Steelers are in their Bengals division. Mike Brown's a dumbass. I thought we went through this like a million times. It always comes back to the same thing. Mike Brown is a dumbass. Repeat that, Anthony. Mike Brown is a dumbass.
Mike Brown is a dumbass.
There you go. And now you can also insert Jerry Jones and finish with the same words.
Anthony, the New England Patriots. You got a quarterback who's a great, proverbially the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. He's 41. He'll be 41 next year, I think, somewhere around in that age. And he underthrows. I'll say underthrows. They throw the short. They play the short game. They use the pass as a run game. Do they draft a tight end? Are they after a tight end and looking to replace Gronkowski?
Patriots, they brought in Matt LaCosse, who was, he ended up starting a couple games in Denver, a young kid. They brought in Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who has a lot of upside, but he also comes with some baggage. They also have Steven Anderson. Jacob Hollister, who Bill Belichick spoke highly of before he got hurt last year. I think the Patriots are absolutely in the market to draft at least one tight end early this year. And it wouldn't surprise me if they drafted two, like they did in 2010 with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. And they just put them all on the field and see which ones make the team.
So, Mike, is this a team that with Belichick, they just build a tight end, or do they draft one?
Well, they'll draft one, or they'll just change the offense and do something else, because it's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. There's three or four tight ends that if any of them slip to them, I think they'll take in a heartbeat. But other than that, I don't think that they're going to overly reach to get a tight end, Anthony. This is a smart team, and they're going to get whatever helps their team to win.
Yeah, but do they have to reach?
No,
I mean, this is a deep tight end class. They can.
Yeah, but you know what? I can see the top three
and go get Irv Smith with 32.
But this is the thing. Irv Smith's got to be there, and I think that this is going to be a tight end draft where there might be three guys go before that, which may leave you with Irv Smith, though, who would not be a bad pick.
No, that's what I said.
Yeah, but
they can wait and get what falls.
If all four of them are gone, then it might be something different. I don't think all four will be gone, though.
All right, and who's the best tight end you ever played for the Patriots?
Huh?
Who's the best tight end ever played for the Patriots?
It's either Gronk or Russ Francis. Can't be anybody else.
Russ Francis. It's Russ Francis, yeah.
No, it's not.
No doubt.
It's Gronk. It's not Russ Francis.
It's
Gronk.
Gronk. Okay.
It's Gronk. Gronk was
Francis
a much better blocker.
Francis flew his own plane to the games. He was a pilot.
Are you Wikipediaing again?
No, I know this. I knew Russ Francis because he looked like Tom Magnum because I used to watch Magnum PI. He had the same
figured you did. You watch
hair.
every TV show, Steve. But any other questions, Steve?
No, I'm done. You guys can wrap it up. Let's get out of here.
Anthony, anything we missed that you wanted to hit on?
No.
Yeah, Andy. Yeah.
No, I think we got everything.
All right, guys.
Are we going to be doing a draft show?
Oh, yeah. We'll do a live draft show just like last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have you on.
I figured ask on air so we can plug it.
Yeah, we'll plug it. NFL live draft show. This will be the fourth year that we've done the live draft show. Also, tomorrow we have a special guest, Steve, which will be very interesting. And I think we can ask whatever we want now. The former president of the Orlando Apollos of the AAF, Michael Waddell, has consented to be on the show. I asked, and he said yes. Well, I asked Bobby to ask him. Yeah. He said yes. But like I said,
it's a tough situation.
Yeah, and I don't think any of it was Michael's fault. The Orlando Apollos were the one team or one of the two teams that I saw that seemed to do things right. So we'll have him on tomorrow to see exactly what in the hell did happen with the AAF. On Wednesday, we'll have Max Lipister on to talk a little NFL draft. Thursday, I believe we're going to have Bobby and Cole on, if you can ask Cole, to do a little NBA playoff update. And then we'll have Sam McGinnis on to do a little NHL playoff update. And then Friday, who knows? Maybe we'll have Anthony back, and we'll just have I don't know, maybe we could play the Dozens or something. You remember the Dozens, Steve?
No.
You're so white. You're so white, it's pathetic. All right, guys. Anthony, you know what the Dozens are, right?
No, I don't.
You're too young and white. All right. Jeez. Oh,
what's that basketball? Remember, what's the name of that old basketball show with Salami? Remember one of the
Salami? White Shadow.
Yes.
What white men can't jump?
No, White Shadow had Salami.
White Shadow. Oh, okay.
You don't remember Salami?
I don't watch TV.
Salami was like, of course, the Italian kid that had like.
I gotta go back and watch this show. I used to love White Shadow. It used to come on at like 4 or 5 in the morning on ESPN.
Well, see, I'm older than you, so it used to come on at 9 o'clock Eastern time in 1979 for me, and it was Ken Howard.
Yeah, and It was Ken Howard, yeah. And Bernie Casey had a role in it, too.
Yeah, Bernie Casey was a great actor.
Yeah, he was.
He was the principal, wasn't he?
Yes, he was the principal, and Ken Howard, who I don't know if either one of them are still alive, truthfully.
I'm pretty sure Ken Howard died. I don't know.
Yeah, I know Ken Howard passed away. Yeah, I know he passed away, but I don't know that Bernie Casey is still alive or not. I don't know. I've not seen him anything recently.
Well, Bernie, if you're out there, give us a call, and we'll have you on the show to talk White Shadow. We need to get Salami. Anthony, it's going to be your job over the next 2 days because let's face it, his name is Salami, so he has to be in Jersey, so you got to be near him. So what we want to do is we want you to reach out, find out what Salami's real name was, and see if we could have him on the show to talk a little White Shadow.
Hey, so Anthony, I got one last question for you.
Okay.
Who's the number one pick in the draft this year?
It's Kyler.
And you think Phoenix is going to go with Kyler?
Yeah, I think so.
Arizona. That's your second mistake. I only made one. Now we can go off air because I won.
Isn't that 2 years in a row of drafting a quarterback number one and failing miserably?
Well, in the first round.
Yeah, in the first round, not with the first pick. And this is the thing.
All right.
If they can find some suckers to trade a first or second round pick for Josh Rosen, then it's not that bad of a deal, especially if Kyler Murray works out. My only worry with Kyler Murray is it's the perfect situation for him, but Cliff Kingsbury seems to be a complete douche, so he's probably screwed either way.
All right, now you just asked me. I have to ask another question now. I'm sorry. God damn it.
Ken Howard passed away in 2016, and also, remember, don't use the Lord's name in vain because you wouldn't want to end up in hell. Now, what's your question, Steve?
Right. Is Josh Rosen just a good quarterback in the wrong place?
No, he sucks.
I mean,
I've told you this for a year. Right. I told you last year. He's not any good.
Okay, no.
He's a spoiled brat.
All right, okay. All right. Anthony, you agree?
I hope he goes to the Cowboys.
I'm not as high on him as some others might be.
I thought you were going to say you're not as high on him as I am. When is the NFL draft? Is that the end of April, Anthony?
April 25th, I believe, is day one.
April
Thursday
25th.
night.
So that's a week from Thursday. So we do need to start promoting that, don't we?
Yeah, it's the 25th.
Okay. Are we going to let Steve be on that show with us, Anthony?
Sure.
We'll see. We'll take a vote.
I vote no. I vote no.
All right. No's have it. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead.
I'll be on to provide comic relief. No problem there.
We could just have you – we could call you in when the Colts are ready to pick. You could be our expert Colts analysis. Oh, no, wait. I got Cole Hanna.
There you go.
Never mind. All right. So we're going to wrap the show up. Remember, me and Bobby Sheridan will be back with the Sheridan Report in just about 45 minutes. Inside Boxing Daily will be back, I promise, tonight with me and Jeremiah at 11 o'clock Eastern. Me and Steve will be back tomorrow with Michael Waddell, formerly with the Orlando Apollos of the AAF. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to remind everybody to go check out our sponsor, mybookie.ag. And also, check us out at thegruelingtruth.com. You can follow Anthony Cervino at what, Anthony?
At The Real NFL Guru, and then you can follow my show at the FF Face Off.
All right, make sure you check them out. They do a great job there. Was it still you, Dan, and Mike?
On the actual football show, it's me and Mike. On wrestling, we also do a wrestling show, which should be coming out on The Grueling Truth soon. It's the three of us with Dan.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Anthony Cervino, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.